Queensland and Senator Brandis, a person with whom I rarely agree, have both actually done some fairly handy things in connection with this. You may find yourself with strange bedfellows in attacking the present government for their indifference to the fate of Assange, but no matter. Treat it as an interesting experience. I wanted to pick up on something that John mentioned about the sort of laws that might be passed and the leaked document that showed what is the greatest threat to our democracy, and journalists the head of the list. A badge of honour, I agree. But there was an interesting piece of legislation in Britain a few years ago. It dealt with people who were non-citizens in Britain who were accepted as refugees but who were thought to be risks so far as engagement in terrorist activity was concerned. And what the legislation did was to allow the government to lock these people up indefinitely for the protection of the community, even though they were not guilty of any offence. Incidentally, it's exactly what we do to asylum seekers who aren't even thought to be guilty of any offence, but let that pass. The legality or the validity of that law went to the House of Lords, and the House of Lords, in a devastating 8-1 judgment, dealt with the fact that the law had the effect of jailing innocent people, denying them their rights in circumstances where they had done nothing at all wrong, and they acknowledged that it was done in order ostensibly to make the country safer from terrorism. And Lord Hoffman's speech ended up with the devastating observation that the safety of the nation is less endangered by terrorist suspects than it is by laws like that. It brought to mind an observation by Wendell Phillips in 1852 in a speech which is only remembered as to one fragment. He said that the price of liberty is eternal vigilance. Power, he said, is ever stealing from the many to the few, and the Democrat in office soon hardens to a despot. There are words that are as true now as they were then. One of the things that you must do when you leave this hall tonight is vow to hold the government to account. Hold them to account for their denial of the basic obligations that they owe to Julian Assange. Hold them to account for their basic denial of the principles of free speech, especially political free speech. Hold them to account for their apparent ignorance of the notion of the presumption of innocence. You have to hold them to account, and remember, we can, if we